Hello everybody and welcome to my presentation on some of the aspects of how we run schools in Denmark. It's an honor to get this chance to speak to you, and I hope that you will find what I have to say both interesting and hopefully also inspirational. I'd like to start out by showing you a part of the Danish Act on Secondary Education, which is quite fundamental to how we run schools in Denmark. And as you can see here on the screen, it says that the pupil must thereby gain the prerequisites for active participation in a democratic society and an understanding of the opportunities for individually and jointly contributing to development and change. I'm showing you this, and I put some of the words in italics. It's sort of to highlight them, saying what we have to work with according to the law is that we need active participation. We need to show them that they can work in a democratic society, and they have to work both individually and jointly to contribute to development and change. So this is quite fundamental for Danish schools, that we have to work on these aspects. It's in the law, and it's also a tradition in Denmark. And this means that we have a school environment which is some of the core values are responsibility, it's participation, community, commitment, collaboration, and democracy. And we work with that in a number of different ways, but I've chosen 3 ways that we work with this that I would like to show you today, namely the life that we have outside the classroom, how we work with student well-being, and then finally what we do inside the classroom, which we call dialogic teaching. So these are the 3 core themes that I will touch upon today, mainly the last one, dialogic teaching. But I would like to start with talking about life outside the classroom, because if we want a culture of participation and collaboration, and we want a vibrant school which feels alive, we need to take initiatives outside the classroom, and we need to let go of control, and we need to let the students' voices be heard. We want them to feel and understand that what they have to say and what they have to contribute with matter. And therefore we have a number of democratic committees in our school. We have, of course, a student council. We have a science committee. We have a language committee. We have an international committee, and we have a sports committee. We have a green committee, and we have what we call a lounge committee. The lounge committee, their job is to create social activities at the school. We call it AG Lounge. And the other committees, well, these committees are set by the school. We've chosen that we need to have committees on these areas. So committees are made up of both students and teachers, and they work with what their commission is for each of these committees. So they sort of create initiatives. For example, the Green Committee creates sustainability initiatives for the school, and that way we try to involve the students in that work. We use that as a case to make the school more sustainable, trying to decide, for example, do we need to re-establish how we get our electricity, what sources do we get our electricity from, and so on. So the students are involved in that process to make the school more green according to an interest that they have, and share that interest. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about is student well-being, because if we want a learning environment which encourages students to take responsibility and encourages students to collaborate, encourage students to commit to their work, and if we want the students to take responsibility for their own learning progress, and where the students feel that they are valued, we need student well-being. That's the idea, at least. Basically, we want them to feel welcome, and we want them to have meaningful relationships with each other, and we want the students to feel that the teachers are genuinely interested in them and their well-being as well. So well-being is not only to master the individual subjects. It's also to get a positive experience from the learning process itself, if we talk about what goes on inside the classroom, and to feel safe in class. And how do we work with this? Well, we have a long program when the students start at our school, where they are introduced to the culture of the school and how things are run. And we take a lot of time giving them the opportunity to get to know each other. And we have a number of student tutors, as we call them, who help introduce new students to the school culture and help them socialize together so that they are sort of enrolled into the school in the right way, so that they feel that this is a place where they belong and where they can work and feel safe and feel happy during the day. We also have what we call a well-being teacher, which is assigned to each class. So this teacher has a special job of coordinating things with the students in each class, talking to them about how they are progressing, how their environment at the particular class is, and how they feel being together, feel working together. Are things working fine, or do we need to adjust anything in that particular class in order to make things work smoothly? And then all teachers are basically trained to be aware of student well-being when they teach. So they need to look at the class and see who's thriving and who's not thriving as much, and then try to help the students who are not thriving as much as they should. And all the teachers, they meet and have meetings about this a couple of times a year, so that they can sort of make plans together as what to do in each of these classes. And then that's the well-being teacher who sort of runs these meetings with the other teachers, and they have a discussion about, well, how's this class progressing? What can we do to support their continued learning? What can we do to make them take a larger responsibility, and so on and so on. The last thing we have that should contribute to student well-being is that we have a lot of social activities besides the committees, besides the clubs and so on. We also have different gatherings like a bingo night, movie night, Friday cafe, we have talent nights and so on, which also contribute to well-being and the sense of community at the school, sort of trying to give the students a sense of belonging, that the school is a place that they would like to be at for their time, because they do spend a lot of time in school. Now I want to move on to what goes on inside the classroom and talk to you about the concept of dialogic teaching. And dialogic teaching is the overall framework for how we work at Danish schools. We have a long tradition for this, and it's something which is practiced through the entire school system in Denmark, from kindergarten to university. In dialogic classrooms, students they don't just provide brief factual answers to test or recall questions, or merely spot the answer which they think the teacher wants to hear. The idea is that we have this sort of a classic dialogue where the teacher asks the students a question to check their fact-based knowledge on a subject, sort of an initiation, response, evaluation situation where the teacher would initiate by a question such as describe the chemical formula of water. Then the student would respond answering H2O, and then the teacher would evaluate by answering correct. And here in that type of dialogue, the teacher takes on the role as sort of a fact checker. And it's a classic dialogue, and we have that in Danish schools a lot of the times as well. But we also have something else. Teachers, they work with quite a bit to facilitate this type of dialogue. And that's the role of the teacher is basically a facilitator, not a fact checker, to add the right amount of new skills into the task so that they can actually overcome the task. So, scaffolding the dialogue, it involves interactions, of course, which encourage the students to think in different ways. Okay, so they need to think in different ways. This is the idea. not just to give an answer, but to think about many possible answers, for example. We also need to ask questions which require more than one answer, a simple recall. Sort of open questions are very important if you want to practice dialogic teaching. We need answers which are followed up and built on rather than merely received, meaning that we have to sort of listen to what others say when they answer, and we have to take that into consideration, continuing the discussion and build upon that. We need feedback, of course, which inform and lead thinking towards forward, as well as encourages students. So we need to look forward. What can we improve? What can we do? And what do I think of what you just said? And etc. We need contributions which are extended rather than fragmented. So we need to sort of build upon, as I said before. We need exchanges which can chain together into a coherent and deepening lines of inquiry. So we need that sort of ping pong, as we say in Danish, between people interacting in a dialogue. And lastly, we need classroom organization and a climate and relationships which makes it all another in their pursuit of knowledge. So collaboration is a very, very important thing in working with a dialogic classroom. Now I would like to move on to some examples. And the first of how we do this in practice, because maybe it's a bit abstract, me talking about the concept, but I'll show you some examples now. The first example is from, an English lesson where the teacher has written down 10 questions, and then the students are asked to pick 2 and think about an answer. Then they need to present their answers to their group members, and when they've done that, they need to present to the entire class. So here we have, first they work individually, and then they do dialogue with group members in smaller groups, creating sort of a safe space to sort of get the dialogue going. So here the teacher really has the role of the facilitator of that discussion within class. So that's a very classic way of doing dialogic teaching, I think. Okay, so my last example is an IA example of a class who's worked with the theme of growing up. And here the teacher wants the students to have a Socratic dialogue using ChatGPT. So the teacher asked them to individually conduct a Socratic dialogue with ChatGPT, starting with the prompt, when are you no longer a child? And the purpose of a Socratic dialogue is not to win an argument, but to basically advance philosophical thinking in order to gain a deeper understanding of a complex subject. So this is, I guess, a question which could be answered in many ways. When are you no longer a child? And then the teacher sort of helps scaffolding again by putting down a number of prompts that the students could use in order to keep the Socratic dialogue with the chatbot going. And then when they've done that, well, once again, they need to present the most important insights that they gained from this dialogue with ChatGPT to other members of the class. So again, to keep the dialogue going, to make them take out what was essential from what I learned from my dialogue with ChatGPT, and then present that to others, and that way work with building the argument, creating new ideas, further thoughts. And of course, when the students meet with their different ideas of what they gained from this GPT discussion or dialogue, they will, of course, gain more insight and then again build more arguments, learn more from that. Okay, so this is all I had to say to you today. I look forward to meeting you later on today, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and I look forward to asking any questions that you might have later on. Have a good day until then. Bye.